teenage mother, so she moves out of state with her family to make a fresh start. Why do you think she and her family decided to move? Do you think that it will be easy for her to make a fresh start? Is there such thing as a do-over? Why or why not?
I don't think she really had that big of a say in the move. I kind of feel like it was like her parents saying like, you didn't really make that good of a choice, like we're gonna leave, and that's also kind of why they were gonna put her up for adoption. Like I'm sure her parents had a say in that, or him up for adoption. I'm sure her parents had a say in that too, because I mean, if she like was gonna go through with having a baby, I'm sure she wanted it, but that was talked out of it.
I agree with that because, and like specifically, when Sam went over to Brittany's house, like after Max was born, and they were talking about that, Brittany said, sometimes I think if my mother could have shut up for like 2 minutes instead of constantly telling me what to do, like I could think straight and make like decisions for myself. So I think that her mom was really pushing her to give up Max and move away. And even though they might have like talked about her keeping him before, her mom might have like realized like as Brittany was trying to take care of Max, like Brittany like couldn't really handle it, and it like she just wasn't ready for it, and so her mom might not have wanted to have to be so supportive and like always have to be taking care of Max for Brittany if she couldn't be there all the time.
Yeah, a good example of that is on page 104 when Sam goes over to the hospital for the first time to hold Max, or Julian at the time, whatever, and like kind of near the end, Brittany's mom is like she took Julian away from her and she's like taking care of him, and she's like kind of complaining about how like he's fussing or something, and that kind of shows how her parents did not want to have to deal with the kid at this point in their lives. Like they didn't like, unlike Sam's dad, where like he could kind of tolerate it. Like they would just didn't want to do it at all. Like they may have been supportive, but they weren't gonna like be the cheerful one or like the excited one, like the grandparents basically. So I think that was also a big deciding factor in like, we are not gonna do anything, and if you're not usually emotionally stable to do this, then you can't have the baby basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. I put the impressions that I got from like page 104 and like 105 when they're meeting the baby was that Brittany really wasn't mature enough to handle a baby and take care of one. That was the impression I got from like the mom talking and her like just reaction and emotional kind of touched in the book. And I also don't think like Brittany had much of a choice in it too. Like I think her parents wanted her to have like a quote unquote do-over just because in her parents' eyes she really messed up, and she didn't need to have like this kind of like stress level in her life or like responsibility because again she wasn't mature enough.
In my opinion, I think that Brittany and her family decided to move because she wasn't ready for the responsibility of having a baby, and also I think they didn't want to face the reality of with society. Like they weren't ready to know they didn't want society to think something wrong of her daughter, and I think that's why they wanted all to move to another state. And also the biggest part is when Sam goes to Brittany's house and she tells him that his mom says that it's gonna be better if they move, because that way nobody at school is gonna know that she had the baby. So I guess Brittany wasn't ready.
I said the same thing on page 130. Brittany says that she says that if like her mom would shut up for 2 minutes instead of telling her what to do, it kind of shows that like it wasn't her choice to like give up the baby, but she didn't really try to like have the baby though. Like she didn't even try to like she didn't even fight for it. She said, oh my parents said that it would be good for like to start new things, and then she left. It's kind of like her parents like fault and then her fault too. Like she didn't fight for it.
She seems like a really big pushover.
Sorry. Go ahead.
She seems like a really big pushover. It's like her mom is like the only thing that we ever hear that's like her concrete opinions are she doesn't want to have an abortion and she doesn't want to get married. That's the only concrete opinions that she seems to express in the entire thing. Everything else, like, I'll have the baby, I'll keep the baby, that seems to be something kind of pushed by her parents. And then, oh, I'll give up the baby, that seems pushed by her parents as well. And it's just, it doesn't seem like she has like the kind of the steel in her to make her own decisions and live her own life.
I think. Go
I think
ahead.
Gam's going.
Yeah, give it to
Okay,
me.
what you're doing, right?
Alright, yeah, I think it was all about her family than like her. They could have like given to adoption the baby and they can just like stay. But I think her family are more scared of like how people will like just like talk about them than like, okay, if we just like see it in general, like how kids like grow up and like act how like their parents are like raised them, and Brittany's families are kind of scared how like people kind of like talk about them, how like Brittany got pregnant and like give up her baby. I think that was the main reason they decided to move. It wasn't like her choice to do it. I think it was like more her family, and like they're not like, I don't think they are giving Brittany an like opportunity to start over. It was like more about them than like her.
I think that it would be kind of hard for her to make a fresh start, because even though she kind of couldn't really handle having a kid, I think that for her it would be really hard to just be detached from Max, and like it would be tough knowing she wouldn't really be able to see her kid that much anymore.
I think that Brittany's parents like made her move because like they wouldn't want a bad rep on her that like she had a kid and it was Sam's fault, but then like Sam wanted to take over Max because like, it was his fault technically, but and maybe give Brittany a break and then just let her move on with her life.
I would say, oh, go ahead.
Okay. Talking about like specifically the end of the question where it says, is there such thing as a do-over? I think it kind of depends on the person, because I think Brittany is the type of person who could put something like this behind her probably fairly quickly, especially in a new town and start a new life. But as we saw, Sam is the type of person who couldn't do that. Even in the last chapter, when they talk about how Sam's gonna go meet Max again 18 years later, you could tell Sam's still been thinking about letting him up for adoption ever since then, how nervous he was to meet Max, and we don't get that feeling ever from Brittany.
You
Is it-
go.
Okay, thank you. I would say, like, I don't know, on 129, here's a really good example of, like, how Brittany, I don't know, I took it as she wants to start a new life, and she's using kind of parental control as an excuse almost. And I think that she believes if she runs away from the problem, if she can leave that life behind, that she can kind of have a do-over and start again. And I think physically, from the outside, yes, because it mentions that she doesn't even look like she's pregnant, and I think that she might think, like, if I can go away, like, to a new community, like, people won't even know, I don't even have to tell people, I don't have to explain myself, but, like, that emotional weight, and that, like, regret of having this entire experience and not knowing what this other life would be. I think that is kind of something that she can't really ever have a do-over of and can't ever really run away from.
I agree, and I also said like she'll probably kind of regret it in a way. I said like kind of like what Elliot said, but I also said like she'll think of the what ifs. Like if she was there, like would Sam still think about putting Max up for adoption, things like that, if there was like a mom involved.
And then I also feel like she can't really put this behind her because like she might be able to just go and like talk to everybody new and be like, yeah, I just moved here because my dad got a new job, as it mentions on page 131 that his job has like a different office there. Yeah, my dad got a new job, I had to move here, blah 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 blah. And she doesn't ever have to tell anybody, but like we see that Sam ends up in the end of the book in a stable relationship with 2 kids. Like what does Brittany do when she gets to that point where she falls in love with somebody else and wants to get married, but does she trust that person enough to tell them that I got pregnant, I had a kid, I gave him up for adoption? Should she tell them that? I mean, she's always going to have that possibly separating her from a relationship. Otherwise, she's gonna have to confess it, and it's gonna be part of her.
Yeah, the way I kind of put it was, my opinion was no such thing as a do-over. And I put it like, when you make life-changing decisions like getting pregnant and having like a baby, and you run away from them, like it will come full circle. And like we can see that with like what Sam did with adopting, like putting Max up for adoption. It came full circle. Like, you took care of it, put him up for adoption, and then they reunited at the end. Like it'll always come back, I believe. So that was like the point I wanted to make.
What
And
time are we at?
Kyle had some.
Oh yeah. So like going off of what Luke said, I feel like that it definitely depends on the person. But I don't really think you can officially have a do-over, at least mentally, because whatever, like every decision you make, it becomes a part of you and who you are. And I just think that if you make such a drastic change to like move and like try to forget about it, it definitely will come back around. So.
Going off of Adam's point, I don't think there's such thing as a do-over, because like whatever happened, and you might forget about it, but it still happened, and it's not gonna change anything. Like it's still a part of your life.
I agree with Amy. Like, no matter how like hard you try to just kind of put something in the back of your mind, like you're never. It's always gonna be there. You're never really gonna fully forget about it, even though you just try super hard to.
Let's let Magdalena go. Let's let Magdalena go. She's been waiting.
Is anyone who hasn't said anything for this?
Magdalena.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
just like,
Okay, I was gonna say that like, I think that I like agree with a lot of what people have said, that you can't really have do-overs in life. But I think for Brittany, when she moves away and she's gonna be like in such a mindset of like pretending that she never had Max and that never happened, that part of her is gonna really be detached from that. And if it ever were to come up at some point, like she's not really gonna, I feel like she's not gonna be like so like emotionally connected to it anymore, and it's just gonna be like, this is just something that happened in my past, and like it's not, like she will think of it as like something that's not really part of her anymore.
I agree, and like it's different because like after Sam put Max up for adoption, like he's gonna think about that for the rest of his life, and like he did when he saw in the last chapter versus like Brittany. I agree with you. She's not gonna.
And she never like came back and like saw Max anymore, or like we don't in the future. I feel like she wouldn't want to go meet Max when he's older or anything either.
And Brittany's decision to like give up Max seems much more emotionless than Sam's decision. I mean, we see Sam just bawling like the first time in years, and Brittany's just like, yeah, we just have to give him up, whatever. Like it's not a big deal. I think she's just completely emotionally detached herself from the whole thing already, when just because the idea of moving was proposed.